Welcome back to the Meditation Matters podcast, brought to you by EcoWellCo, where we explore and use wellness practices to live well on purpose. Join us today as our host, Niall, explores the powerful practice of radical self-acceptance. I take you through what it means, how to use it in your daily life, and how it can transform the way you manage yourself, meaning how you approach your emotions, thoughts, memories, and experiences, and even to what you tell yourself, from a more self-compassionate point of view. I also guide you through activities so you can get a glimpse of how to use this transformative practice starting now to cultivate a deeper sense of well-being and, of course, learn to live well on purpose. So let's dive in. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. I'm here to talk to you about a topic that's actually quite near and dear to my heart, and that is radical self-acceptance. It's a practice that I've come across a few times in my spiritual journey, my self-growth journey. But when the first couple of times I heard about it, I thought I understood and knew what it was. But then with time, I realized that I actually had no idea what it was. And it wasn't until this one day I was on the train visiting my friend out in Moab, Utah. And I had this revelation. It's like 6 in the morning, and I have this revelation about what it means. And next thing you know, I'm like jotting my thoughts down as fast as I can possibly do it. And I have this dawning that it means this very extreme form of self-compassion. And it's not you like, allowing yourself to get away with murder in a sense, right? But it's really you taking the time to deeply reflect on yourself and just accept every version of yourself. So I'm going to give you a proper definition of what radical self-acceptance means so that you can get an even better understanding of what I'm saying. So this is a practice or even a lifestyle, because at this point I incorporate it in my daily life, so it's become a lifestyle. But in the proper definition, it's the practice of fully accepting and embracing all aspects of yourself, including your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and physical appearance without judgment or criticism. This means accepting and loving yourself as you are without trying to hide any part of yourself from yourself. It's a form of self-compassion and involves treating yourself with kindness and understanding just as you would treat a dear friend. What's interesting about this practice and something that I can attest to for myself is that it can help to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression that may be tied to feelings of worthlessness or low self-esteem or even shame. Meaning, it can also help to foster a greater sense of self-worth, being the opposite of shame. This practice can also help you develop a greater sense of self-awareness, which may lead to personal growth and self-discovery, which combined together can cultivate a more fulfilled life and expanded personal perspective. So basically, radical self-acceptance gets you closer to who you really are if you allow yourself to do it. So I have a slight story share outside of the one that I just shared. Recently, a friend that I have, he's a spiritual healer. He posted an Instagram story. You can find him at PYMystic. That's PYMYSTIC. And he said something that I would say that I agree with. And it was around the lines of many of us are often seeking some sort of spiritual advice or searching for an answer to a question on like how to be different or how to be better than what we currently are. But the question that we should ask ourselves is, are we searching for a different version of ourselves? Or are we searching to be a different person altogether? And then this is another side part is based on the answer, the question that we're asking, the answer we're seeking for, are we even prepared to receive the answer that the healer, the advice giver, whoever this person is, would give to us? And are we allowing ourselves to be open to that answer and to expand on it, even if we don't understand it to begin with, but like, are we willing to like allow ourselves to sit with it and see what comes up? Because sometimes we can get an answer to a question like, how do I be better? And we just don't like the response that we're given. But perhaps that's the very response that we need, or that's the very response that starts to trigger this domino effect of questioning more and questioning more until we finally realize the truth behind it all. And to add to all of this, outside of whether or not we're willing to accept the answer, when it comes to asking ourselves, like, are we trying to be a different version of ourselves or trying to be a different person altogether? It's interesting because oftentimes a lot of us are trying to be a different person altogether. We saw somebody that we really liked, things that we liked about this person. We're like, oh, I want to be that person. I wish I was you. I wish I could be like you. But what's interesting, what we're not realizing is that oftentimes when we're recognizing things in people that we like, we're also realizing that we have the capacity to be that as well. Meaning that instead of searching to be a different person altogether, what if we allow ourselves to simply just be ourselves? That version of ourselves is actually possible. And another thing, too, that I realized recently is that if you can dream it, you can be it. If you can say, oh, wow, like, I wish I was more this, or I can envision myself being more this, then it's completely possible for you to be that. You're already that. You just have to allow yourself to be it. You have to peel back some of the external layers to allow yourself to be that. So really what I'm saying is that what we're not realizing when we're always trying to be somebody else, what we're not realizing is that we're merely looking to become the fuller version of ourselves that already exists. So the spiritual journey isn't about being something or someone different. It's actually about being yourself, better yet, returning to yourself. So radical self-acceptance gives you the chance to experience who your true self is, that inner being, once you allow yourself to remove the layers of the external. And what do I mean by the external? It could be labels or personality traits or whatever it is that you took on from society or familiar units, pretty much all the external noise and chatter that's around you of what you should be or how you should act or what you should think or how you should feel or what you should or shouldn't do, that could directly conflict with what your inner being, your heart, is begging you and calling you to do. And essentially, it's who you think that you currently are that may not be coming from your true self. And so really the bigger question is, how do we return to our true self? How do we allow ourselves to experience this unfolding of being this better person, this different person that we're trying to be, by allowing ourselves to return to who we are? So that's where radical self-acceptance comes in, right? It gives you the opportunity to begin to experience, become aware of, explore, accept, and eventually become who and what you naturally, instinctually, and intrinsically are, and who you've always been. So when I say that layers have been placed on top of this true self, I mean, it starts from when you're born, right? The moment you're born, the things that you're hearing, the data you're intaking, the way that you've been taught, trained, made to be obedient, whatever it is, these are all layers of like trying to cultivate you into being like this better human being, right? Based on the eyes of whoever is raising you. But sometimes what other people are placing upon you can really add muck and cloud to who you really are and who your soul is really meant to be. Now, a lot of the times we are, no matter what we're being taught, are given the opportunity to peek through the veil or feel nudges in the heart. And if you were raised by somebody who encourages you to explore those nudges, or an environment that encourages you to explore those nudges, then you'll have an opportunity to peel back those layers and be re-embraced by your true being that's always been there, that's always going to be there. They know the mission, they know the point of you being here. If you've never had that opportunity, you may have to learn on your own through life experiences that it's important for you to follow your heart and your heart's calling. But how do you do that when life seems to be pulling you and stretching you in 50,000 directions? And that's where this interesting part of when you're going to seek counsel comes in, right? So when seeking this counsel, consider that you are not looking to be different than who or what you are, but you're merely looking to be your whole and true self, the self you were born as and born to be. So when practicing radical self-acceptance as a means to be something different, or as a means to figure out how to no longer be tugged in 5 kajillion directions, realize that you're simply looking to be yourself, a version of you that already exists, even if it feels or seems far off. Like I said before, because if you can dream it, then you already are it, thus you can be it. And when it comes to being tugged in 5,000 directions, simply become aware of this and accept it for what it is without trying to change it. And allow yourself to experience whether or not this tugging is something that's necessary, something that has to happen. Begin to ask yourself these questions. Does this have to be my reality? Is this the truth? Is this how things have to be? And then ask yourself, if I was to be my truest version of myself, what exactly would I be doing right now? How would I be managing all of these things? What would I really be wanting? And explore what comes up without trying to force an answer or whatever it is. Just explore, allow it to gradually come, and sit with it, accept it, experience it, and allow it to unfold. And then you get to decide what you're going to do with those answers. Here are a few things that I think are important to remember. The self on the other side of doubt is certain. But even still, in the moment of you experiencing doubt, practice radically and fully accepting yourself, even when you are doubtful. The self on the other side of shame is compassionate self-worth. And just as you gladly accept compassion from others, you must also practice radically accepting your shame, meaning showing yourself compassion. And all that may come with that shame, all the feelings, the thoughts, the memories, everything, the behaviors, everything that makes you feel shameful, accept it. Accept it. Say, I see you shame for what you are, and I accept you. I see you feeling for what you are, and I accept you fully and totally without trying to change you. I send you love. For that awareness, allowing yourself to see that shame and accept it, allows it to unfold. The self on the other side of judgment is acceptance. And with that, you are able to see the truth under a judgmental lens, meaning, why am I even being judgmental? This helps you to realize that what you actually wish to offer yourself and others are blessings and love from the heart that you perhaps never thought was possible. This is the power of radical self-acceptance. It allows you to realize that all this pain and everything else that you think is unbearable and has no end actually has an end, or has a way through, or there are other options. You just have to give yourself a chance to see them for what they are without trying to judge them or change them, seeing them in totality, and then choosing what's next. This is how awareness and acceptance can work in tandem, and awareness and self-compassion can really begin to transform your life from the inside out. So there are 3 ways to use radical self-acceptance as a wellness practice. And again, I also mentioned how I use it as simply a lifestyle at this point. 1, you can use it in conjunction with awareness, as I mentioned, or a mindfulness practice, meaning you can learn to acknowledge and accept any type of negative thoughts or just unpleasant thoughts, uncomfortable thoughts, really just thoughts that seem to pull you to bits. You can learn to acknowledge and accept these thoughts and emotions without allowing them to control your behavior. I know that sounds really intense, but that takes a bit of mindfulness and awareness, meaning that, okay, you're becoming aware of these thoughts, feelings, emotions, behaviors, whatever they are. You're seeing them for what they are. You're accepting them, but then you're choosing to allow yourself to simply see, accept, and not act. That can take some practice, but by using radical self-acceptance, seeing them, accepting them for what they are, and not acting, just by sitting, whether or not it's in meditation or journaling, whatever it is, you can release that energy and just see it for what it is, allow it to pass, see it, reflect, and allow it to be. Another way is you can utilize what comes up to decide on future actions, meaning how you really want to feel or how you actually want to show up for yourself or others, accepting that perhaps what you're currently doing or how you're currently living doesn't necessarily add anything to yourself, or perhaps it may be taking away from you, maybe meaning like the decisions that you're making right now, are they helping you? Are they helping to propel you forward? Are they helping you to heal? Are they helping you to reflect? Are they helping you to whatever? Or are you making decisions that are kind of like burying everything that you've ever been running from, or burying the version of yourself that you've always been wanting to become, but you feel too ashamed to become that person? or you feel too ashamed to really embrace the fullest version of yourself, or you don't feel like you're worthy of it, right? So that's something to explore. And so I have a couple of self-questions that you can ask yourself, and I'm actually put this in a worksheet that you can download. Just see the link in the description for this episode. But there's a couple of questions that I think would be really interesting to explore. And the first one is, what happens if I stay the same? What happens if I stay the same? What is the burden of staying the same? Is there a burden of staying the same? Do I want to stay the same? So this is a practice of exploring the what ifs, and I feel like this is going to be a really fun practice, or maybe not so fun for some of us, but it's just a really good reflective practice. And while you're doing this practice, you're going to accept every single thing that comes up, every single thing that you write down, every single thing you write about. I accept you in the totality of love. I see you for who you are, and that is okay. Next question. How can I use awareness and acceptance of any and all parts of myself, the parts within and the parts that I may be projecting out to the world, to heal myself? How can I utilize any story that may be associated with any of these thoughts, these feelings, with any version of myself that I may be experiencing or projecting out into the world, that I may be telling myself, to create a new one? And how can I utilize this new story to be the me that I've always been looking to be? Whether or not I've been looking, say, oh, I wish I could be you or be other people, or whatever it is. But how can I use this new story that I've cultivated, that I've created, to actually revert to my truest form and allow my inner being that's always been me to shine through? So it's interesting, you see how, starting with the what ifs, you can use these to explore and become aware of and accept the stories that you've been telling yourself, and begin to create new ones with the questions that I provided. So the third way that I have used, and you could use also, this practice of radical self-acceptance, is to break the link between thoughts and behavior, or feeling and believing, right? So really it's asking yourself, what would it be like if I acted on or believed every single thought that I ever had or even have? If I act or believe on every single thought and feeling that I have, what would that be like? And ask yourself, what would happen if I accept these feelings, thoughts, memories, emotions, and experiences for what they are, without trying to change them, but simply allowing myself to see them through a self-compassionate lens? Of course, it may take some time to practice and be comfortable practicing self-compassion, but that's what the point of this practice of radical self-acceptance is. It's a way to do it. So no matter how uncomfortable it may be, starting out, doing it for years to come, whatever it is, be radically self-accepting anyway, and allow yourself to experience what unfolds. There are three main things I hope that you can take away from this episode. It's one, radical self-acceptance takes you through a layered process of accepting yourself in your truest form. This means accepting the thoughts that come up, the feelings that come up, the emotions that come up, and anything that dominoes or trickles out from that. Accept it all. See it for what it is. Allow yourself to accept it. Write it down when it comes up and say, I accept you in the fullest capacity of love. I see who you are, and that is okay. This gives you power over this again, and allows you to move forward to make a new decision. So again, radical self-acceptance takes you through a layered process of accepting yourself in your truest form, who you've always been and who you are meant to be upon birth. It is a practice, number two, that accepts the self void of judgment. And even if judgment or shame or feelings of worthlessness arise, you even accept those things, raw as they are. You then get to decide if you allow these feelings, these experiences, these behaviors, whatever they are, to have power over you, or if you use them to propel you in a different direction, meaning to the self, the truest self. And number three, radical self-acceptance is a practice of self-care and self-compassion, just like it's a practice of getting, being, and staying authentic with and to yourself. Let me know how your journey with radical self-acceptance goes, how it may transform your life, what it brings up for you, and anything else that may come. Be sure to leave me a comment here, send me a message on Instagram at EcoWellCo. You can also find me on YouTube or my email. Everything is in the description and the link in my bio, so check me out there. Again, there's also the downloadable worksheets that you can use to take you through some of the activities that I discussed in this episode. And from there, you can also find my contact information. So I would love to hear what you thought about this episode, what you thought about radical self-acceptance, and I would love to hear your journey. Be sure to join me on Patreon also if you would like more episodes that are not featured to the public and other beautifully curated exclusive content. So thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for listening. And I hope that this episode has helped and can help in some way. With much love and many blessings your way from my heart to yours. I'll see you next time. Bye.